everyone. Guillaume Niswell here, host of the E-Commerce Wizards podcast, where I feature leaders in business and e-commerce. Today's guest is Nick Sonnenberg, CEO of Leverage. You can visit his website, getleverage.com. And today we're going to talk about how to save 5 to 10 hours per person per week in your company. So that's Nick's proposed topic for today through operational efficiency. So before we get started, our sponsorship. This episode is brought to you by MageMontreal. If a business wants a powerful e-commerce online store that will increase their sales, or to move piled up dormant inventory to free up cash reserves, or to automate business processes to gain efficiency and reduce human processing error, our company, MageMontreal, can do that. We've been helping e-commerce stores for over a decade. Here's a catch. We're specialized and only work on the Adobe Magento e-commerce platform. We do everything Magento. If you know someone who needs a design, development, maintenance, training, support, we got their back. Email our team, support@magemontreal.com, or go to magemontreal.com. That's MAGE Montreal.com. All right, Nick. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So can you please tell us a bit about yourself and your background as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I've been running Leverage for about 6 years now. And prior to that, I was a high frequency trader on Wall Street. So my background's in financial engineering. And for those that don't know what high frequency trading is, basically, I would be building algorithms, coming up with some new formulas, coding computers, and then having the computer trade stocks, very, very large volume, so billions and billions of dollars at microsecond speeds, trying to capture fractions of a penny based off of kind of what the math said the theoretical price would be. And so, being an engineer by background, I like to build things, and I kind of like problem solving, automation, obviously, since it was all automated trading. And so I kind of applied the same thinking process to how to run a business. And, now after many pivots, now Leverage helps businesses get more operationally efficient. We're not looking necessarily at microseconds, but, we're trying to save people, 5-10 hours a week per person in the team. By leveraging systems and tools and automation in smart ways.
That is a bold claim, but I believe it can be done. There's a lot of inefficiencies laying around all companies, that's for sure. And I'm kind of curious about your background there for the high volume trading. I mean, was that successful? You're probably not the owner of that software that you've built for a corporation, I'm guessing.
I guess it matters how you define success, but yeah, I don't know. I'm probably generated 70 to 100 million before I was 30 in P&L for the company. But the type of trading that we did was, I might have 10 down days a year. I mean, so it was, the math was pretty good, and it was pretty, the risk reward was very strong, you could say.
That's a pretty smart way of making money. Congrats there. Nice work. Okay, so let's dive into it. How does a company go about saving 5 to 10 hours a week per employee?
So we've been doing this for a while, and we found, how big is your team, Guillaume?
It would vary between 20 and 30 right now.
Okay, so good size. You probably at 20 to 30 still get by, but you still can feel pain where there's a scavenger hunt and you ask someone to do something and the information or the document isn't as easy to find as you would hope.
Oh, it happens, that's for sure. Let's say the thing is documented. Where did somebody put that thing? Where's the document that documented that? That happens.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing kills me more than just waste and inefficiency. So, if a document gets lost and you spend thousands of dollars paying someone to build it, right? Or they can find it, but it took them half a day to find it. And, say it costs you $300 a day to hire that person, $150 is just burnt because there's disorganization that doesn't need to be there. And they spent half a day doing crap that should have never had to be done in the first place. So what we found, we worked with 30-person e-commerce companies up to, the Fortune 3 in the US, various industries and sizes. Every company has very, very, very similar issues. It's just amplified the bigger you get. So if you're at, say, 25 now, if you go to 50, it's not twice as hard. It's 20 times as hard. in terms of the complexity of scaling, because complexity scales exponentially with team size. So what we found is a few things. One, so the sooner people clean up their operational efficiency, the easier it is to scale. And it's hard sometimes to convince people because a lot of people are just optimizing for top line revenue, which is something very tangible. You see it hit your bookkeeping system versus saving time or cleaning up how systems are set up. You don't see that hit the balance sheet or the P&L statement immediately. But what I found across all sizes and organizations is it's much easier to clean things up or make any change when you're smaller. It's very, very, very hard to scale when your foundation is broken. And no matter what size or industry, there's three buckets that we identified every company needs on the face of the planet. Every company needs these three things to remove that scavenger hunt and avoid some of those pitfalls of things getting lost or taking longer than it needs to. So those three buckets, we have an acronym CPR that stands for communicate, plan, and resource. Those are the three key areas that we found everyone needs to be thinking about. So every company, you could be listening to this podcast now. You could be a coach, a financial advisor. You could be running a CPG company, a health company. You need to communicate both with your team and your clients. You need to plan. So work needs to get done. There's tasks and projects. And then you have resources. You have assets. You have processes. You have SOPs. You probably have to do payroll. That's a process, how to do payroll. You probably have to onboard new team members. That's a process. You probably have core values or a vision or objectives or some goals. These all need to be documented and captured somewhere, both to de-risk your business. You don't want to have risk that if someone leaves, the moment they leave the door, there's all this knowledge that just leaves the moment they leave. But also, you don't want to waste time having to answer people's questions. You want onboarding to be as fast as possible. Instead of taking 3 months to get a new hire up to speed, what if it could take 3 weeks because you have really clean documentation? So those are the three buckets. And it's important to understand that there's different tools that are built within each of these buckets. And some of the biggest issues that we see is that people don't think about those three buckets and they start using basically text and email to hack all three of these buckets. And there's different tools built to solve specific problems, right? You build websites so you understand, like you build something for a specific purpose. And so the tool to do external communication like email should probably be different than internal communication tools like Slack or Teams, because there's different functionality that they both offer. And then those are not project management tools, right? Like you can't answer basic questions like, what did I ask Kimberly to do that's now past due related to this project? Like you could search through and stitch 100 messages together to answer that, but project management or work management tools are built for that. And most companies, like this is why at Leverage we've put a large amount of focus recently on we've made a partnership with Asana, and we're helping people roll out Asana properly, because most people are completely broken in this category. They're using text and email. It causes a scavenger hunt. They're missing this whole category of work management. And then lastly, pretty much no one does a good job of documenting policies and process, which generates a ton of risk and in the long run slows people down. So these are the three areas that we help businesses clean up.
All right. So let's talk a bit about chat, because, with COVID now, almost everybody works from home when it is technically possible. How do you see that being the proper way of communicating? Say you have Slack or MS Teams or Skype or whatever you're using, creating interruptions all the time in the workplace, or having instructions not being perhaps documented the proper way in your project management system, Asana or others. Like, what do you see as best practices there?
Well, understanding when to use a tool is the number one. right? So when should you use Slack versus Asana? Like, for example, if you were going to take your team camping in the forest, you'd need walkie-talkies to communicate, but you still need a map to navigate out of the forest. So Slack, which we're talking about right now, is the walkie-talkie, and Asana, for example, would be your map. So step one is understanding when to use each tool. Then step two is how to use it. So the whole distraction conversation that you're bringing up, I mean, you can look at things like notification preferences. Part of the culture should be like response time to expect. It's definitely inefficient for people just to be responding within 3 minutes to every message. Most people are underutilizing asynchronous communication with tools like Loom that don't need to be written. Most people are underutilizing agendas for meetings and moving things off of any of these platforms, adding it to a collaborative agenda, and then addressing a bunch of topics in one shot. So lots of problems that stack up.
So are you saying that people should sort of avoid chat more or less and just like put everything in project management software or send an email so it's not urgent if it's something that you can answer asynchronously at a later time, and sort of maybe we keep chat for more urgent stuff that I'm expecting an answer now, or even for chat you'd say, well, as long as I get my answer within a few hours, it's fine.
Yeah, if something's not urgent and you have a meeting next week, it probably should just get added to the agenda. But also on top of it, a lot of people are putting actionable tasks inside of communication tools that have a high probability of getting lost because they belong in a project management tool. So you need to think about those two things.
Right. Yeah. There should never be any action items left in notes or meeting notes. Those must be extracted, and notes are purely reference material, and all action items sit in a project management software, or otherwise will never get done by your staff. That's for sure. Okay. So is there any other kind of technique, tactics, or strategy that like top of mind that you'd like to share in terms of how to improve efficiency like this?
Well, I think like also there's tools like Loom I just mentioned. So much sometimes typing is too annoying because you have a lot to talk about. You need to share screen. I think a lot of people are always under the assumption that you need to be on a live Zoom to do these things. There's a lot of things that I communicate to my team that might be a 10 or 20 minute. There's a tool called loom.com that's a great video recording tool. And I'll do that. And now these people, one, we don't have to waste time trying to coordinate schedules. My calendar's packed. It's not easy to find a time. It becomes exponentially hard to find common times when you have multiple people. If you need to do a 6-person meeting, like good luck finding a time. Also, time isn't linear. The value of a 1 hour slot at 9 a.m. on a Monday is way more valuable than 9 p.m. on a Friday when you're in the back of the Uber. So the more synchronous communication that you can free up off your calendar, and then give people pre-recorded video that they could watch on their own time. Maybe they're going on a walk around the park. Maybe they're in an Uber. Maybe you're a slow speaker and they can watch it at 2x speed. Maybe there's parts of that conversation that they might want to rewatch because it was complicated. So there's so many benefits. I'm not saying every case, like sometimes you need to do live brainstorming for sure, but you definitely don't need 100% of your video conversations to be live on Zoom. Some percentage, depending on the context, could be pre-recorded. And I canceled so many standing meetings that we had, and now people have, they know exactly kind of the structure of what I'm looking for in certain videos. And now I'm getting in it video, and now I take back control, and I could use my discretion on when I watch this video, and then I'll send them back a video to get back to them.
Okay, so let's say your daily huddle summary, what you've done today, yesterday, what you'll do today, what you've done yesterday, that kind of stuff. They just send you a 2-minute video. You click the link whenever you're ready. Okay, so the general idea here is to move more and more to asynchronous communication, which totally makes sense to me. Pretty good. Okay. Anything else that sort of comes to mind regarding communications, or do you want to move to the next topic?
I mean, we could talk about this stuff all day, right? But everyone's used to email. I think Slack and Microsoft Teams have gained popularity. I'm really seeing a lot, which is why, I mentioned before, we've been building up this Asana partnership and program. We've really been seeing that's probably like one of the biggest gaps in companies is that they're completely missing, or they tried rolling it out and it didn't work. And then they think it's the problem of the tool, or the tool doesn't work, or the tool sucks. But project management, work management seems to be one of the biggest missing things in companies that we look at.
Okay. So anything more specific we can get into and say common problems you've seen or something like that?
Well, the way meetings are run. So let's say a meeting needs to be live, because there are some that need to be live. We talked about agendas, but even having like a bit of a structure to it, like at the end of that meeting, are all the action items captured, decisions that are made should be logged in your knowledge base. Things like this, people aren't doing. Clear pre-work for a meeting to make sure it's as efficient as possible is not really being dealt with properly in companies. So, sometimes if everyone spends 10 minutes thinking about what they want to talk about and sending out some ideas ahead of time or coming prepared, net, everyone can save time. So at the end of the day, like at a high level, if we want to kind of tie all this together in a few concepts, a lot of these things is shifting the mentality within an organization from optimizing for speed of transfer of information. How quickly can I give this information to Guillaume, to shifting the mentality to optimizing for speed of retrieval of information. Okay, maybe I'm in text and it's faster for me to tell you this right now over text. I will get out of my text message and open up whatever, Asana, and then I'll click into the project, and then I'll add the task for you in that project. So that takes an extra 3 clicks. It might take an extra 20 seconds. But I've just put it where it belongs. And if everyone has this mentality of taking pause, spending a little bit extra time putting things where they belong, shifting mentality from speed of transfer to speed of retrieval of information, you shift the organization from a bunch of people trying to optimize for individual productivity to then optimizing for team productivity, which requires collaboration, coordination, and sometimes people sacrificing their own time for the greater good of the team. But you'll see that if everyone does this very quickly, net, everyone's going to be saving multiple hours a week.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept you're bringing up. It's shown in some agile Scrum training and so on, that if you try to do too much local optimization, that everybody seems to have what would appear to be 100% efficiency, the whole becomes slow. And you need a few person to sort of take the hit, quote unquote, to unblock the team. And then we go faster as a team. And if you only measure and reward individual performance, you're going to create a slower machine than if you also say, hey, no, the goal here is the speed of the group, the performance of the group as a whole, way more important than individual performance. So it's important to think of those guys who spend their time, let's say, not doing billable hours, but if the scrum master is not there to unblock the team just slows down because it's going to hit roadblock after roadblock and won't be ready to work when actually they get to that task. So that's a pretty interesting concept there. Also for note taking, from my own experience, I can say it's somewhat surprising. The quality of note taking can be quite variable from one person to another. And say like everybody went to school for so many years nowadays, everybody should be great at note taking, and that's really not the case. Notes are often too personal and hard to read, so it must pass the test that if you give this to somebody else, do they understand what you've just written? And very often it's missing very basic concept like, okay, who is this for? Who's this action for? Who should be doing this? Okay, why do you need it? You gave me a solution that I need to implement, but why do you need this? Maybe I know a better solution. What's the objective with this? And then, what's the definition of done of this task? Like if you've reached this task is complete. And so I can self-validate if I've met your objective of what you've delegated as a task here through that note taking. And that makes a huge difference. I actually had to train the staff to do proper note taking so there's less confusion and there's more efficiency.
Yep. Yep. And then, like all this stuff, note taking, documentation, process documentation. If you can't be replaced, you can't be promoted. So, so much stuff is not documented, which means it's going to be very hard for you to ever not do that thing again that you might not like if you can't give it to someone. And it's hard to give someone something if there's no documentation on what they need to do in the first place.
Right. Okay. So you were talking about communicate. We've talked mostly about that. We've talked about plan and resource. Is there anything you'd like to cover, like in those other aspects?
Well, there's a variety of tools. Inside of that resource section, we're partners with a tool called Process Street. I forget what our code is. If in the show notes, we can give it to you, or people could shoot or contact us, and we'll give kind of our special thing. But tools like Process Street are great for documenting process. It connects to automation tools like Zapier. So not only do you have the documentation, but you could start automating various steps. And even if a step is like a 5-second step, most people are like, oh, it's not worth automating. But like, if you have to do that 12 times a day, that's a minute a day, 5 minutes a week, 20 to 25 minutes a month, right? Like that's a few hours a year, just that one silly thing, not to mention a bot's not going to get sick, complain, or mess up. And sometimes that 5-second task, if you mess up 1 out of every 100 times, might take you 10 hours to fix the mess up. So you have to take that into consideration too when you start thinking about the benefits of automation.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, my observation on this is first, they need to get the process in order and then automate. So first step is often to have humans to document it all, to test it, to learn it. And then we know that this process is working well. And then you add technology to it to automate it.
Yeah. And also when you document, like one of the things I talk about is when I back to the high frequency trading days, every year you have to take a 2-week block leave, which means you're locked out of everything. Can't come into the building, like can't get into email, can't get into the trading system. And they do that to make sure you're not doing anything shady and hiding trades. And obviously that never happened with me. But when you leave, you have to document how your algorithms work and how your book works and give it to someone. And even though I was like the expert at my math, my books that I was trading, just the process of documenting it and handing it over to someone, every year for 8 years, I came back and there was always an improvement to how the book traded. And, fresh eyes spark innovation. So when you start documenting things and you get other people to stress test what you're doing, even if it's not a full permanent transfer, but just a temporary, take a look, try to run payroll for a week, right? It's hard to see the label when you're inside the jar. So when you get someone else to do it, you're going to start challenging status quo, and people will start challenging, like, why are we doing this? And 9 out of 10 times when they start asking questions, the answer is going to be, oh, well, that's because we've just always done it like this. I guess you're right. We should have probably updated this 3 years ago, but the last guy did it like that.
So to reach, let's say, 5 to 10 hours per week of optimization, okay, let's say we work on improving communication, we work on improving how you can retrieve that information, and you plan for the speed of the team instead of the speed of the individual. And then you put everything in your project management software. You then have your processes well documented, well defined, tested by humans, and then you apply automations to it, even a small process, like you're saying. Of course, a larger process gets priority, of course, but it's also what's the cost of the investment needed to automate that process? Is there something out of the box with Zapier, or do you need a custom development for $20,000 or more? Can change priorities. What else would you put in place to try to gain those 5 to 10 hours?
I mean, if everything you just said, people executed properly, it'd probably even be more than 10 hours. So I don't think it's not about more. It's about like doing each thing that we've just talked about and doing it properly a mistake people make is they try to do too much. They try to touch all these things simultaneously. Like you don't get benefit out of any of this stuff if it's partially rolled out. So do one at a time. You have to be strategic. So you want to do this in a strategic order. And depending on your business and your needs, it could be Asana is the most important, or it could be getting to inbox zero, or it could be that asynchronous, right? So that's the type of stuff that we help businesses with. And we do this roadmap to prioritize and see where you're at. But the reason why that order matters is some things might be really important, but it might take 6 months to fix. And even though once it's fixed, you'll save 3 hours, maybe starting with a quick win, which psychologically is going to get everyone on the team excited. And maybe in 2 weeks, we could save you an hour. You should probably start with that. And now everyone's got an hour back that they could reinvest into that next strategy that you need to roll out. Make sense? So go one at a time. And most of the time when people say like something doesn't work or we tried this and it didn't work, most of the time it's just the way it was rolled out and people just weren't properly taught, when and how to use the tool.
Yeah, of course. If you do 10 tasks, 10% each, you're not reaping any benefits. You need to finish one task 100%, truly rolled out, train everybody. So document the process. You train everybody how to do it, and then you enforce that it's actually being followed there. So, is there anything else that you'd like to cover for today's meeting?
I think we fire hosed them enough here. But yeah, if people have more questions, they can feel free to reach out.
Okay, so how can people get in touch with you, Nick?
Well, so the website is getleverage.com. From there, there's some links that they could click on to book a call with my team. My personal email is nick@getleverage.com. So they could always reach out if they have some specific questions that we talked about here, and I can direct them to the appropriate person.
All right. Well, thanks for being here today, Nick.
No, thanks for having me.